Hi, I'm Anna Denton-Jones of Refreshing Law Limited, and in today's session I want to focus on the employment of reservists. It may be something that you haven't come across before, or maybe you've got a manager who is thinking of employing somebody but is worried about the fact that they are, or have declared on their CV that they're a reservist, and you don't really know what that means. And certainly it's something that we're all going to have to get more used to as government policy has been to shrink the formal forces and increase the reservists that are out there working in the workplace who could be called up to serve. So if you haven't come across it before, it's certainly something you're more likely to in the future. Now, there are kind of two kinds of reservists. There are those people who have been employed in the forces, and when they leave, they remain somebody that's able to be called up. They're more regular reservists, if you like. And then there's the traditional volunteer reservists who, depending on when they signed up, the key date is in October 2014. Before that date, they can only be called up in the case of warlike operations, so things like Libya. People have been called up to go there, or if there's a need to protect life or property outside of the UK, or if there's some sort of emergency basis. Whereas people who have signed up since October 2014 can basically be called up to do anything that any of our regular forces can be asked to do. So it's a sort of wider circumstance. Now, in terms of where you can go to find out more information, there is a really good website. It's www.sabre.mod.uk, and that will tell you a lot more about what it means to be a reservist and all the different obligations on you. But in summary, I guess there are two key issues for employers. The first one is training obligations, and each reservist will have an obligation to do so many hours training a year. It's around 40 hours, I believe. Now, most of that will be done outside of working hours, but there is likely to be a training camp each year, and individuals will want to take time off to do that. And recently there's been an increase in the amount of notice that you're likely to get of that, and you should have the training calendar, if you like, at the beginning of the year so that you know where you are, and 3 months notice of that training camp. The other issue, of course, is what happens when somebody is formally given a call-out notice. At the moment, that can be given to you on 28 days' notice, which obviously isn't a very long time to get yourself organised with a replacement. There are government plans to increase that to 12 months, which is obviously a good thing. There are high readiness, that's the word I'm looking for, high readiness reservists who can be called out on shorter notice, in fact 7 days, but there has to be an agreement between the employee and the employer that they take on that status, and that has to be renewed annually so that you're absolutely clear on what's happening. Now, in terms of when somebody gets that call out notice, and they could be called out for 12 months from the start of their period of call out, and that 12 months includes both, being deployed, but also recuperation or training and all the things that go with it. What can you do? Can you get out of it? It will be a question that lots of employers will ask. Yes, in certain circumstances, there is an appeal mechanism, but you have to appeal very quickly. It's a 7-day period from that call-out notice. So employers have to act very quickly, but certainly if it's going to cause serious harm to the business for that person to not be around for a year, there may be grounds to get the call-out overturned. You've got to bear in mind, however, that there are financial assistance packages available to employers which ought to lessen any harm. So it's only going to be in exceptional cases, really, I suppose, that that's going to apply. So what is the financial assistance? Well, when the person's called out, they're paid by the MOD. You don't have to pay them anymore. If it's going to cost you more to get a replacement in, maybe the market's changed, you can claim £110 a day for that replacement in terms of the difference in salary, perhaps between what you were paying your reservist and what you're going to have to pay this new person. If you are an SME, so you've got less than 250 employees and your turnover is less than something like 25 million, you can claim £500 a month extra. That's a new provision. You can claim advertising costs. If it's cost you to use an agency to recruit that replacement, if it's going to cost you more to provide clothing and equipment and things to that person, you can claim up to £300 or 75% of the cost of doing that. So there are measures in place to try and ensure that it doesn't cause you huge disruption. But you need to remember to claim those things within 4 weeks of your employee being mobilised. So it's important that you do that. In terms of your reservist and their relationship with you, it would be automatically unfair dismissal, and they could bring that claim with less than 2 years service if you were to dismiss them because they've been called up or because of them taking part in training and things like that. So you do have to be careful. They are protected. When they return from the call out, you've got the obligation to employ them in the same job on the same terms and conditions. So think maternity leave, it's the same sort of scenario. They're entitled to return to their old job, and they would have a claim if you treated them detrimentally in any way for having taken that time off. Whilst they're off, the contract of employment is paused in terms of continuity. So it's like a pause button has just been applied during that year when they're off. When they come back, they'll have the same continuity as on the day that they left to go on the training or the to be called out. Now, I hope you found that useful. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. It's adenton@refreshinglawltd.co.uk. Thank you very much.